legacy. It's all about life and living. It's about a person learning from the past, living in the present, and building for their future. Sharing their wisdom and leaving behind a message to be remembered by. This is the legacy of Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson and his legacy showed us just how true his statement was about wanting to help all children in need and distress. Ryan White was a child in distress that Michael had tried to help during his very brief and promising life. Michael would come into the life of Ryan at a time where the world surrounding us didn't understand the disease we know as AIDS that Ryan was suffering from. What Ryan had faced while alive brought many to tears, as no person, regardless of their circumstances, should be treated the way he was being treated to the very end of his life. This video is in dedication to Ryan White and so many others who are living or have succumbed to the AIDS virus.
He died shortly after turning 18, the very time most young people are beginning to explore life's wonderful possibilities. My friend Ryan was a very bright, very brave, and very normal young man who never wanted to be a symbol or a spokesperson for a deadly disease. Over the years, I've shared many silly, happy, and painful moments with Ryan, and I was with him at the end of his brief but eventful journey.
In the 80s, everybody was panicky about AIDS, a new fatal and contagious disease. People were afraid to sit next to AIDS victims and breathe the same air. Exactly then, Michael Jackson fearlessly invited Ryan, ill with AIDS, to his home, dined together and publicly embraced him, showing there was no need to fear. Here's the story. 12-year-old Ryan Wayne White from Kokomo, Indiana, was a hemophiliac. This means the blood doesn't clot normally because it lacks blood clotting proteins. Ryan became infected with HIV from a contaminated blood treatment. In December of '84, Ryan became ill with pneumonia. During a partial lung removal that year, the boy was diagnosed with AIDS. After this, he was too ill to return to school. By spring, he felt better. His mother, Jean, asked for her son to be readmitted. Her petition got denied by Superintendent James O. Smith, starting a legal battle that lasted 8 months. Though doctors assured there was no risk, AIDS was poorly understood at the time. When Ryan tried to return to school, many parents and teachers rallied against his attendance.
You and I were chatting, before we went on the air, and you were telling me some of the charges that kids were leveling against you while you were in school back in Kokomo. Just tell our audience about that, would you?
Well, they marked my folders. They marked fag and other cruel things.
Western Middle School faced much pressure from parents and faculty to bar Ryan from campus after the diagnosis was widely known. Out of 360 students' parents, 117 signed together with 50 teachers to ban Ryan from campus.
Got to where he looked so good, you wouldn't even tell he had AIDS. He kept calling me and about bugging to go to school, and he says, Mom, he said, call the school, see if I can go visit. They have pizza on Friday, and I really like the school's pizza. I called Mr. Colby, and Mr. Colby says, call me back after spring break. I called back after spring break. He said, Ryan can't even come to visit school. He said, have you talked to the local Board of Health? And I said, the Board of Health? He said, yeah. He said, I think you better call them. There's people that's been wanting quarantine signs put on your door. He said, but you need to hear it from them. They're going to vote in July whether to allow Ryan in school for next year or not. He said, just be patient until July. July came, the end of July came, we get a call from CBS Morning News. It went over the wires that the school board voted on the 15th not to let Ryan in school for next year.
Due to fear and ignorance about AIDS, the principal and later the school board assented. In February of '86, Ryan was allowed to return to school for one day. 151 out of 360 students stayed home. At school, he had few friends. He was required to eat with disposable utensils, and used separate bathrooms. Even though Ryan was unhappy, he finished 8th grade. Many celebrities appeared with Ryan during his trial and continuing for life to help publicity destigmatize socializing with people with AIDS. Among these celebrities, Michael Jackson. The threats continued, and one day a bullet was fired through their living room window. The family decided to move to Cicero, Indiana. When Michael heard the story about Ryan and his family, he personally called him to offer his friendship and support.
So we're coming out sometime around the 19th of June.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
How long will you get to stay? Do you know, like a week or?
probably a week.
Oh, you got to come home.
I was going to ask, you may not be able to, but I've got 2 tickets to the premiere of Batman.
You do?
Yeah, the movie, the premiere.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to go.
Oh, boy, I would love that. I don't know if I will be able to. I sure will check. What day is it?
What date is that? I would ask that. I don't know. I believe it's the 19th and the 20th.
Oh, boy, I'd love to see that. But let me check for sure. Because around that time, I'm going to be recording. But, I have to see. I've been dying to see Batman myself. Sounds fun, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I know. Thanks for the invitation. I'll check.
Pardon?
I said, thank you for the invitation. I'll check and see.
Yeah, if you can't make it, that's okay. But I want you to know that, you're welcome to come.
Thank you. Very nice. Yeah, you're welcome to stay at the ranch if you want.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
On August of '87, Ryan was greeted and welcomed at Hamilton Heights High School by Principal Tony Cook, Superintendent Bob G. Carnell, and a handful of students who've been educated about AIDS and weren't afraid to shake Ryan's hand. Michael and Ryan soon became close friends. They talked a lot and often on the phone. Accustomed to feeling different, when they spent time together, both just felt normal. Most of the time, they had to rely on phone conversations because either Michael was working or Ryan was just too weak for social life. Ryan and his family went a few times to Neverland Ranch. They drove around on his four-wheeler all over the ranch, watched the Three Stooges reruns in his private theater.
Ryan went out there in 1989, right after Christmas. That was the first time Ryan had went by himself. But, I think there was just a respect for one another. I mean, it was so funny because Ryan calls me and I said, what did you do today? He goes, tonight we watched 3 hours of Three Stooges movies.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
was it like two kids playing together?
I think Ryan was kind of the older. Ryan was 18. So I think he was kind of the older. We always liked staying in the cottages.
Do you mean the older between him and Michael Jackson? Ryan was almost more mature, is that what you're saying?
Well, Ryan was kind of more mature, and I think Michael had been used to being a lot with youth. He was so interested in everything Ryan liked and what an 18-year-old would like to do. Michael just loved kids. He didn't care what race you were, what color you were, what was your handicap, what was your disease. Michael just loved all children.
They shared meals together. During one of the meals, Ryan told his mom he didn't want to be buried in a suit and how he'd liked his funeral to be. Ryan was very mature. He understood why people hated him and that he was soon to die. It broke Michael's heart. He even had to excuse himself from the table to cry in the bathroom. Michael knew he couldn't change Ryan's fate. After supper, it was time to go home. Ryan wanted a picture with Michael real bad, but no cameras were allowed on the property, so Michael arranged a Polaroid camera. He drove them to the main entrance and said their goodbyes. Michael always told Ryan when they hugged goodbye, "Don't ever give up, do it for me." The week after Ryan's last visit to the ranch, he remained unconscious in critical condition in the ICU. The doctors gave Ryan a 10% chance of pulling through. On Sunday morning, Michael called after hearing Ryan wasn't expected to live. Michael was talking on the phone with Buzz Cohen, television producer and writer, when he brought up Ryan to him. He told him his friend wasn't gonna live forever and how he wanted to do something special for him. This is where the song Gone Too Soon comes in. The song was written by Cohen and Larry Grossman. It was covered by many artists, but never recorded. He told Michael the song was his. Michael was in Atlantic City. He never made it in time. Ryan sadly died in April of 1990, shortly before he would have completed high school. Michael arrived in Cicero at the Whites' home. Very upset, he went up to Ryan's room, filled with his collections, posters, and souvenirs, the leather jacket Michael had wanted him to wear. He just sat quietly looking at everything. Ryan's mother offered if he wanted anything he liked to remember Ryan by. Michael wanted his room to stay exactly as it was. In the front yard sat the red Mustang Michael had given Ryan a year ago. Now it was covered with flowers, Easter eggs, and gifts from children. Ryan's sister showed Michael the car, and they both sat in it. When he turned on the CD player, Man in the Mirror began to play. Michael smiled proudly as he remembered it was Ryan's favorite song. 3 days later, after the funeral, which Michael attended to, he called Jean and told her he promised Ryan to be in his next video. But now that he was gone, he offered to do a video for Ryan with the song Gone Too Soon. The song was released 3 years after Ryan's death on the Dangerous album. This story is for people to know about the man Michael Jackson is, what he has done for people as a human being and as a friend, not to get attention just because he felt it was right. It was his calling. Michael has donated approximately $500 million to charity, saved over 37,000 children's lives. He holds Guinness World Record for donating maximum amount of money as an entertainer. Michael Jackson is a philanthropist, humanitarian, kind-hearted, selfless, and good human being with a heart of gold, but so misunderstood. This is the reality behind the mega pop star. When the crowd fades, the music stops, and the lights go out.
Thank you, Dove Angel D, for collaborating with me on this video project, and much love to everyone who tuned into this video. Please continue to like, subscribe, and comment and share these videos as more is coming soon. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.